Hi everyone! Just a quick tutorial on how to implement 2D sprites with shadows on a 3D Unity project. Sorry if I stumble on my words, this is my first time doing this. So first things first, you want to download the 2D package right here. If you started with the Universal 3D project on Unity, which you should if you want to make a 3D game. I also downloaded the Cinemachine package, but you don't have to. I just did this for demonstration purposes. So here we have our basic scene. I just made a simple floor so we can put our objects on top of it. The first thing you want to do is import your sprite. I imported this one, which is my current base character for my game. To set it up, first you change texture type to sprite. Here we have multiple since it's a sprite sheet, and we set it to 16 pixels per unit. Here in filter mode, you also want to set it to point and change the compression to none. All of this is so that your pixels don't actually look blurry or anything. Alright, since my character is a sprite sheet, we need to slice it. So we go up here in the top left to slice. And my size is 32 by 32. That's the canvas size I drew my characters in. We have an offset of 1, which is this square or rectangle black thing around the sprite sheet. And each sprite also has a bit of padding, which are these black squares. So I added 2 and 2. We also want to change the pivot here. I'm going to do custom pixels and 16 and 3. Slice. I believe that works. Yeah. So you can see here the pivot is right on the feet, which is why I set 16 by 3. So like 0 would be left, 32 would be right, because that's the size of my sprite. So if we do like 1, 2, 3, each of these like go 1 pixel forward. So 16 is right in the middle, and 3 is 3 pixels up from the bottom to go to the root of our character, like the feet, where we want our character to be planted on the ground. This is going to be really important later, so make sure to change the pivot here too. So now I can press apply. Now we're going to add our character to the game. There's a couple ways of doing this, but I'm going to just show you my preferred way. So I'm going to right click here, I'm going to create empty and just create a player. And inside player, we're going to go to the object, sprites, and I'm going to make a square. It doesn't matter what you make here. I just make it a square because it's easier for me. So now we're going to open this little arrow to see all the sprites that we had sliced up. I'm going to get the first one and place it here. So now we have our character. She's floating at the moment because her position is 1. So we're going to change to 0, and now we have her planted on the ground. This is where the pivot point was important, because if you go here to pivot, we can see it's right here on the character's feet. That's where our character is planted on. So now we have our character, and on the game screen she is facing the camera correctly. But if we change the camera to another one, like the top down, she is facing forward and we can kind of see the edges here. We don't want the player to know our character is flat. So we're going to do a little trick called billboarding, and we did that via script. So we're going to create a monobehavior script. I'm going to call it billboard. So with our script open, the first thing we want to do is we want to get our main camera. So I'm going to make a new variable of type transform called main camera transform. And here in start, we can get that main camera by just setting it to camera.main.transform. Now to make the character face the camera, there's a couple ways of doing this. So the way that some people do it is by doing transform.lookAt, and then we use the main camera transform. So we're gonna set the billboarding script here to our square, which I'm gonna rename it to sprite because it's not a square anymore. And if we press play, the character looks at the camera correctly, just like we wanted. However, if we change her position like here, you can see that she's like turning to face the camera like this. And suddenly it's kind of weird because she's like almost laying down too much. Like we don't have that illusion of 3D anymore. We have kind of like a weird like fish eyes kind of thing. And we don't want that. So I'm gonna press stop here. The better way to do it, if you wanna just have the illusion of 3D, especially for top-down games and such, is we're gonna use the transform.rotation equals. So we're gonna change the transform rotation to quaternion.Euler. Quaternion is again something that's used to represent rotations, but they're a little bit weird to mess with. So we're gonna use an Euler, and this .Euler function works by turning the Euler angle into a quaternion for us. Euler angles are a lot easier to work with because they're just the x, y, and z values of a rotation. That's what an Euler is, or at least that's how I see it. So instead of using the complicated quaternion, we're going to set Euler values, which are going to be transformed into a quaternion for us, which is what the rotation variable here wants. So we're gonna open parentheses. The only thing you wanna move is the x. That's because in order to face the camera, which is right there, we wanna move this red line to 45-ish, which faces the camera correctly. If we change any other value, it's going to change it like this, which makes the object not look 3D anymore. It like completely shatters the illusion of 3D that we have. The blue line too. But that's why we want to change only the X. So to do that, we're simply going to get the main camera transform dot rotation dot Euler angles dot X mouthful, but basically going to the main camera transform, which is this right here. We're gonna get the rotation, which is this right here as well. And we want to get the Euler angle, which again is these values x, y, and z dot x, specifically the x value. Because the Euler is expecting an x, y, and z here, we set it as the first parameter, and the second and third can just be 0 because we don't want to mess with that. So now if we press play and if we move the character around, you can see that only the x value is being followed by the billboarding script. So now that we have that done, I'm just gonna show you really quickly how to make a shadow. Shadow is really easy. We're just gonna press Ctrl D on the sprite here to duplicate it. I'm gonna call it sprite shadow. And now obviously we have a copy of the original sprite. We don't want this copy to show up. We only want the original one. We want this one to only cast shadows and not appear on the game. For some reason, the function we're looking for is hidden in the debug menu. So we can go here to the triple dots on the top right, debug. And here we have cast shadows, currently off. If we turn it on, no shadows being cast right now. But don't worry, we're gonna fix that. So what we actually want is shadows only. This makes it so that the object disappears. And the only thing that it does now is cast shadows based on the material that we're going to give it. So I'm just gonna move back to the center here to align with the sprite. Alright, but how do we actually make it cast shadows? Right now we're using this material, sprite unlit default. And unlit materials typically do not cast shadows. However, even the lit material for sprites does not cast shadows either. So we want to make a new material for that. So go here, right click, create material, and I call it M shadow. And we're going to give this material to the sprite shadow. And now it's casting a shadow, though it's a little weird. That's because it's using this like rough shape that we have here, this selection outline, this orange outline. So everything inside this orange outline is being cast as a shadow. That's because we have our mesh type set as tight right here. If we change it to full rectangle, now it's become a rectangle based on the character canvas size, which is 32 by 32. But again, we don't want a rectangle, we want the actual sprite itself. So to fix this, it's pretty simple. Go to the material here, and we're currently using the universal render pipeline lit because that's the default one that comes with any material you make, and it also works perfectly for what we're looking for. So right here, the only thing we have to do is turn on alpha grouping. And there you go. Have a little shadow. For you, when we do this part, the shadow is gonna look like this. Gonna look like a little blurry. You just have to go to directional light, go to shadows and shadow type right here, and change it to hard shadows. And perfect, now it looks like actual pixel art shadows. Another important thing is that for your shadow, you don't actually want the billboarding. And that's because if you press play, shadow is gonna look a little bit off, especially at certain angles, because now it's casting a shadow as if your character was like at a rotation from the ground. Again, depending on directional light, it can look weird. Like, actually don't want the billboarding. I'm gonna remove it. And now your shadow actually looks correct. There's a bit more you can do with this, so I'm gonna make a tree so you can see what I mean. I imported these two assets. I'm going to change them both to sprite single because it's only one. Pixels per unit 16. Ideally, your project should probably have the same pixels per unit for every single sprite if they are in-game sprites, like they show up in the environment, because otherwise the pixel sizes are gonna get weird. Change filter mode to point, compression to none, play. Now we have our sprites ready. I'm gonna make a new empty called tree, and then make a new 2D object, square sprite. I'm gonna get the sprite here. And now you can see a bit of an issue. Our tree is like underground. That's because we didn't set the pivot type. I just realized that was in play mode, so I'm gonna have to redo all that. So anyway, I remade our tree here. Again, it's inside the ground, and that's because we didn't set the pivot type, so let's go inside the sprite editor. And here on the pivot type, I'm gonna set it to bottom center. I don't have to do custom this time because the bottom center is perfectly aligned with the bottom of the canvas. And our tree actually is above ground. Now onto the important part. I'm gonna duplicate it again. I'm gonna call it sprite shadow. And I'm gonna do the same proceeding we did before. Add shadows to shadows only. I'm gonna change the material. Look at that, now we have a little tree shadow. It doesn't look quite great because this is very flat. And a tree normally has big canopy of leaves. So we're gonna use a second shadow to get that effect that we're looking for. First, I'm gonna move the tree back here. And before I forget, I'm gonna set the billboard to the tree. I can duplicate the sprite shadow again, and I'm going to call it sprite leaves shadow. And instead of using the tree, we can use this one that I made. This particular sprite made specifically for the tree shadow. Is that it's right side up, so we want to rotate it. So I rotated it 90 degrees X. And now we're gonna just move it down a bit. And look at that, now we have a little canopy of leaves kind of thing. You can do a lot more things, like you can duplicate it and bring it up like this. Like for my actual game, I used specifically Blender to model out the leaves and stuff, but this works just fine. I'm gonna move it up again. I think this looks more correct. And then I can fiddle with it a bit and try to get it looking just right. Press play. Look at that, we have a little tree looking at the camera. And there we have it. That's how you add 2D sprites with shadows on Unity. Try not to face your camera to the side like this with the way we did billboarding. If you do this, you should probably change your billboarding to actually rotate in the Y as well. But my game doesn't have that kind of camera angle, so that's not going to be a problem. Also, as you can probably see, I was in play mode while adding more trees, so I had to re-add them. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Please leave a comment if you have any questions. And yeah, good luck with your games. Bye bye.